What is up, guys? Dzeeff here, and welcome to Tales from the YCS Chicago Bubble. Today I have myself, who bubbled YCS Chicago with Altergeist, as well as my good friend Alex Cimoooooooo, who I'm sure all of you have heard about, who also, in fact, bubbled that event with Trickstar Skystrikers. Say hello, Cimoooooooo.
Hashtag Team Bubble 2019.
Yeah, it's rough out there. It was crazy too because actually the round that we both became X2 was like the same exact round. Like I remember we were like sitting two tables away from each other and we both lost that round when we were X1.
Yeah.
And it was super disappointing.
I remember that. We're both like cheering each other on the whole time.
Yeah, that was rough. That was against Guru Control, and I super bricked. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about our experience at YC Chicago. What's interesting is that we both sort of settled on the same main deck tech, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first off, why did you choose to play Trickstar Skystrikers, a deck that many players did not really even think was on the radar? And also, why did you play that excellent Destrudo engine? What made you come up with that for that particular strategy?
Yeah, so first question. So why did I play it? Well, you kind of alluded to one of the reasons is that a lot of people weren't expecting it. So that I like to have that edge sometimes on people of playing something a little bit like kind of out of the norm. So Trickstar Skystriker has very good Skystriker and Altergeist matchups, and the Thunder Dragon matchup is obviously the worst, but essentially you just deck build to make that matchup as like beatable as possible. Obviously, Danger Thunder was something I didn't even account for, but yeah, that's a completely different story. But one of the reasons I really like Trickstar Skystriker, not aside from the fact I've played it for the past like 6-8 months now, it's been a very long time. It's been since Nationals. It's the only deck, in my opinion, I feel can natively run Droll and Lockbird. Because you have the synergy with Reincarnation and stuff like that. And I was very worried going into this tournament that people were going to want to play combo because a lot of people were off of hand traps, which means that decks like Danger Thunder or all these other crazy decks that we saw have this opportunity to thrive because no one's playing hand traps. So that was kind of like a meta call. And I was very happy because when I went up against the 4 or 5 Danger Thunder decks I played, Droll basically just ends their turn, and no one was expecting someone to be playing Droll against them. So
yeah, and Droll's like really cool too. Just so the viewers know, if you don't know, the Dangers have a bunch of weird rulings. Yes, you can technically continue to activate the Danger monsters when you're under Droll, but it really sort of holds them back from what their true value is. The whole reason those cards are good is because they're Upstart Goblins that summon themselves, but when they're just Photon Thrashers, I mean, it's not nearly as good. So I'm sure some people in chat will say, well, can you still summon the Dangers? Does Droll even like really work against them? The answer is yes, they can still summon themselves, but when you take that draw power away and you take the searching of Nessie, man, it really like restricts them from being like a good engine.
Not to mention you're stopping Allure of Darkness, you're stopping Saryuja, you're stopping so many cards in their deck, so it pretty much puts their play to like Colossus Pass most of the time, which is like that. This deck can deal with that no problem.
Yeah.
So to answer your second question, Destrudo Mermare. So a friend of mine, Georgie, actually got me on this idea. And it raises the ceiling of Trickstars quite significantly, because the biggest problem is with Trickstar is that it's very linear and it doesn't really do a whole lot in terms of like if the normal summon gets stopped or if you don't really have a lot of extenders like your Mind Controls, your Widow Anchors, what have you. But Destrudo allows you to basically play Scapegoat in like a proactive sense rather than a reactive sense, where you take any monster, you summon Destrudo, you make Yazi, pop a card for free, then you get to summon Mermare, which gives you 3 tokens, and that's literally Scapegoat, and then you can either make Borosword Dragon and kill them, which is what happened most of the time. You can synchro into Brionac and blow away a board of triple Colossus, so that was the answer to the Thunder Dragon matchup. And you can also make stuff like Trisbania with a proc to basically nuke all the back row decks. So it kind of was like this one like answer to all the decks that I thought were going to be very highly represented. And after testing, it proved to be pretty good. So I decided to roll with it, and I guess I did somewhat okay.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool combo played in a lot of other decks, so it's cool that you teched it into Trickstar Skystrikers. Okay, so the next question, the big one that I talked about and that you talked about during your deck profile, main deck copies of Evenly Matched. And I believe that we both actually played 2 copies of Evenly Matched in the main deck, because, yeah, you sided the third. I did not have room for the third. Now, I've talked about on my own channel why I thought that was such a good meta call for Altergeist in particular. Kind of what Simo was saying earlier as far as like the combo decks go, even though there were combo decks, there were so many other decks out there that were just not really doing that. I mean, the Sky Striker decks, that's a lot of back row, Altergeist and Subterrors, it felt like that was going to be some popular matchups, and I did play against 3 Altergeist. That was actually the deck that I played the most copies of, mostly just 2 like of everything else, but three Altergeist, and that's kind of why I chose to play Evenly Match. And also in my deck I had access to Multi-Faker. That's pretty much a free win if you can resolve Evenly Match into Faker in the game.
I hear
1.
that's okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that one of the reasons I played that card so much was, at this particular event, was I felt that everyone was super greedy in the first game in terms of like not playing against Evenly Match, because especially when I'm playing Altergeist, everyone in game 2 and 3, if they're going first, they're playing around Evenly Match like consciously. So I felt like, I mean, even if they're not like siding in counters to it, like direct counters, they're still like not setting up as many cards. A lot of times the Sky Striker players won't actually use multi-roll for like 4 in game 2 just because they're so afraid of Evenly Match. But in game 1, I felt like it was totally broken, and it turned out to be very good. What was your experience with Evenly Match, though?
Yeah, so a lot of the same theory that you had. The biggest thing is, so prior to Chicago happening, my theory was, okay, Sky Striker, Altergeist, Thunder Dragon, these are the 3 big decks. Evenly Matched is good against all 3 of them. Now, like Thunder Dragon, it's like okay, it's not like as like big of a blowout, but it's still going to get a couple Colossus off the field, and then Trickstar can very easily just deal with a single Colossus with like Mind Control or something. So the theory was, okay, here's a card where I'm already playing a bunch of Go Second cards anyway, but if I draw this card in my opening hand, and I happen to lose the die roll, and my opponent just goes like Shizuku set 5, or, you know, Marionette set 4, or something like that, and then I literally just evenly match them, and they have no way to stop it, which is pretty much what happened every single game 1, I would literally just win the game for free. And oddly enough, even though that was my prediction for what I was going to face, I somehow did not face a single Sky Striker or a single Altergeist deck for 11 rounds. But I played 2 Dracos. I played like all these other random decks that evenly matched happened to also be good against, and it just was a blowout every single time. And I just sided that 3rd copy because, again, it's a going second card, and also because Trickstar has the aggression to OTK, especially with Mare and Destrudo. It kind of conflicted, so I cut down from 3 to 2 when I added the Mare package. And and I was so many people were like astonished. They're like, "You main deck that?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah, I remember. I mentioned this before, but yeah, out of 11 rounds, I lost 10 die rolls, and 6 of those games, those game 1s, I was able to evenly match and just instantly win the game, like every single time. It was. I don't think like I know nowadays we now are with hindsight know that the Dangerous Thunder Dragon deck is capable of putting out like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend and Zombie Stein, which like can negate the evenly match. But I think for me personally, we'll kind of talk about that with the next card as well. I think that I wasn't really even considering those. I mean, I'd seen the Danger decks, but I was more so focused on like the classic opening of Colossus Titan and something like that, where evenly match is so strong, because a lot of times, well, I guess in your case it's true, but in my case, when I would evenly match them, they would keep the Colossus because they would think that'd be playing going second Sky Strikers, and then that was just like super broken, because Titan is like the main way to beat Altergeist with Thunder Dragons, at least like the pure version, just because it's so hard to deal with. You just like summon my Lucic, they pop it, and then you can't switch with Colossus because it's super broken. But that brings me to the next card, which we both played, both said was awful, and that is Forbidden Apocrypta, I think is how you pronounce
Apocrypha.
Oh, Apocrypha. Okay, I can't pronounce cards ever. So why did you play this card, and why did it not work out in your opinion?
So Apocrypha was a card, it was kind of like one of our last additions to the side deck. I worked on this deck with one of my close friends of mine, and we wanted a card, because we pretty much had all the cards main decked for Thunder, like Mind Control, like Widow Anchor, evenly matched to an extent, things like that, and Destrudo as well. We had all these cards main decked for it, but we wanted to have like more, because it still can be hard to get over like double Colossus Titan or triple Colossus. And the theory is, if you go first and you like set Apocrypha, if they start making a board, you can just Apocrypha them when they get 2 fusions, and then they're pretty much like out of luck. Same thing is if you're going second, you can set it into a board of like triple Colossus or double Colossus Titan, hoping they don't have a pop, and you can just immediately flip it on their turn, and then they lose their entire board. And since that deck uses so many resources going into that board, it was kind of like a nice board wipe that plays around their immunity to destruction and things like that. But going up against all the Danger Thunder decks, like does absolutely nothing because they just use the dangers to link climb into the nightmares and pop your back row before they even end on the double or triple Colossus. So you never get the opportunity to actually activate it. So I wish that Apocrypho was something that would actually slow them down, like Lancia, Ghost Bell, just literally like anything else. Like the card was just so lackluster. Randomly enough, though, I also had a Gem Knight FTK opponent, and I cited it for him because they go into multiple fusions. It didn't come up, but just a random interaction where it could have been good, I guess.
Right. Yeah, no, all of that stuff that you said originally, like, that's why I was playing the card as well. I kind of have, like, an interesting sort of take, though, because I played the card before Danger Thunder Dragons were popular, and the card was, I mean, broken. Like, absolutely just destroyed every single pure Thunder Dragon deck just for the exact same reasons you just talked about. Not to mention, of course, yes, I'm triggering Multifaker, but in my deck especially because Altergeist, I mean, people always ask, like, how do Altergeist lose? Well, besides cards like Evenly Match and Denko and Red Reboot, the obvious ones, it can be just really tough to like break boards going second. If you open like a lot of trap cards, it's pretty safe because you can like protocol through stuff, you can trigger Faker. But if you open like 3 monster cards going second, you'll probably just lose against like a lot of boards, especially against the combo decks. So for the Forbidden card, like just allowed me to like break boards immediately, and I played it at like 2 regionals, I believe, and one of the times I was playing it with Trap Trick, and that card just dominated. But yeah, I didn't even cite it into it once at the YCS because the Thunder Dragons I played against were all the Danger version, which not only just don't fusion summon as much, some of them aren't even playing, like Aaron Furman's build wasn't even playing like the Thunder Dragon fusion to make Titan at all. But a lot of them, I mean, they just end on like 2 negates, the Zombie Sign and the Hot Red Dragon, so you can't even like flip it anyway. But yeah, that card's like cool. It's just kind of disappointing. Probably going forward, it's not gonna be good.
I think in retrospect, I think we made the right decision if the meta was how we expected it to be in terms of like Danger Thunder not existing. If it was like pure Thunder, like you were talking about, I think that would have been correct. But I think just because Danger Thunder was the correct route to take, we were just kind of like one step behind in that respect. And we didn't exactly, I mean, I don't know about you. I didn't really like think that deck was going to be that prolific. But it was, and that's honestly, that was just a miscalculation on my part.
Yeah, because I like saw pre-ban lists, all the tops at the ARGs with like the combo variant. There's that Nishad guy, and he had topped like event after event after event, and he was using like the big combo and like all this stuff. But I thought that the deck was just kind of like dead because Brilliant Fusion and Gold Sark were like super important to those decks. And I never would have like even like guessed and he was using like the baby dragons as well. But like the addition of like the guard dragons, the addition of like everyone just playing Curious and Nightmare Griffin is something that I just did not predict at all. And even like I don't even think that all the Danger builds were the same, because if you look at like Aaron Furman's the Sekka's Light version, plays like a million Dangers, but then there was one from one of the European players, he was just basically playing like a pure Thunder Dragon deck with just the 9 best Danger monsters. So it's like all sorts of different versions of the strategy. But anyway, the next question is, what deck that you played against surprised you the most out of all of your rounds? Maybe it isn't one that you necessarily beat, maybe it's not one that you lost to, just what deck was like you were like, holy crap, I didn't even know this was a thing, and it surprised you the most?
This is going to be completely obvious to anyone who already knows my feature match, but it's Cyber Dragon 100%. I was not anticipating in the slightest. Like, yeah, like Gem Knight FDK was a bit weird. Playing 2 Dracos in a row, rounds 8 and 9 was a bit weird. And then I played Spiral in round 10, which was also weird, but I knew that there were Danger Spiral lists from Europe, so that wasn't like too shocking.
But you evenly matched the Spiral player, right? That was the one that
got he just made the full board. I baited Trigate and I evenly, and that was, we were in a top decking war, but my deck top deck's a lot better than his because I have 1-card combos and Spiral has a lot of 2-card combos. So
yeah,
I ended up just winning that. But yeah, it was like, and the thing is, I played Spiral so much, so I know how to play against it. Cyber Dragon is just a deck I have such little experience against, aside from like 1 or 2 people at my locals. And that was just like, in retrospect, I've read through my feature match several times, and I saw several different lines where I could have just OTK'd and won. Yeah. But it was just something where I literally just wasn't even like in the correct state of mind because I didn't expect to play the deck whatsoever. Not to mention it's a feature match, not to mention it's the bubble. So just kind of a lot of things going through my head, but it's fine. Even though I lost, it was a learning experience, and I'm, totally okay with it. And I'm happy the guy made it all the way to top 8. That was sick.
Yeah, and just for contextual reasons, I think I mentioned. No, I don't. I think I cut this from my video that I did about YC Chicago. If you guys don't know, so Alex Simo lost to another Alex, and that's sort of its own meme. But that's the player that I lost to against at the regional in Columbus on the very last round, also playing Cyber Dragons. I've actually played him 3 times, and the first 2 times I was able to beat him. He was still playing Thunder Dragons. I was still playing Altergeist. So like we were like after like 4 regionals, I think we had played each other 3 of those 4, and it was just like a running joke. But honestly, I think that I mean he's such a good player. Like, and we were talking about on Saturday, he was like really excited that he picked up Ultimate Rare Cyber Dragons. But it's very cool because those Ultimate Rare Cyber Dragons are like so old school and so expensive. But like he's really dedicated to Cyber Dragons, and by far out of all the Cyber Dragon players that I played against, I mean I think that they all should like aspire to be as proficient with the deck as he is. I mean he's played all sorts of builds out there, and if you noticed, I don't think he was playing Sky Strikers anymore now that Hornet Jones is limited, so that's like pretty wild. I think that's what a lot of Cyber Dragon players should hope to be. But he's just been on a tear. He's playing a deck that he likes that not a lot of other people are playing, and he's just like killing people. And he has a really good. He's 2-0 against Yugi Tubers. So I guess
I was gonna say he's the honorary Yugi Tuber Slayer. So.
Yeah, and then I was gonna say the deck that surprised me the most was I did play against the Lunalight strategy that not necessarily I didn't play against the winner, but I did play against Lunalights in round 1, and yeah, I got Azathoth comboed, and I was like, what the hell just happened? Like, I didn't open a hand trap, and like, I think that was a big takeaway for me just in general from this event, is kind of like what you said about playing Lancia or Bell. The regional I was going to go to this past week, and I was playing a ton of hand traps now that I wasn't playing at YC Chicago. I really just didn't think combo decks like existed, but yeah, the Lunalight player, he just like full comboed me and had like 5 back row with the Azathoth and the standby phase, and it was just over. So that was like my most surprising matchup. And then lastly, what was the most like surprising individual card that you didn't even like sort of have on your radar that just like really caught you off guard at YC Chicago?
Honestly, I very much so underestimated the effect of the Guard Dragons in
That's
Danger
what I was
Thunder.
gonna say. No.
Yeah, like when I played, so the funny thing is, all my losses were to people who were in top 32. I lost to Dennis, who ended up getting second. I lost to the Danger Thunder guy who was playing Furman's exact list, who got 32nd. I believe his name is Christian, but I might have that wrong. And then I lost to the Cyber Dragon guy who got top 8. So when I played the guy playing Furman's list, he was like, I got to see the deck in full action. And like when he summoned Elpie, I'm just like, oh my God, this is so... I even like verbally said, I'm like, this is so cool. Because I was like not expecting it at all. And like, I'm just getting railed, but I'm just like in awe. And that's what I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because like you can take so many different archetypes and like meld them into a deck. And then it just works. Like that's so cool to me. So like, even though I got completely destroyed, it was probably like the happiest like 2-0 I've ever received in my life.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, the Guard Dragons. I knew that people were gonna be playing Crusader Guard Dragons. We've played against them a few times on stream, and I always just left because they summoned Skulldred like 50 times, and I didn't have time for that in Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. But like, I didn't expect. I think to me, like the surprising part about the Guard Dragons was I didn't put together the fact that they'd be used in Thunder Dragons with the mini Chaos Dragons. Like, I knew people were playing the mini Chaos Dragons as well as other dragons like Diabolos and the Levin Air guy or whatever, but I didn't expect in a million years that like because maybe I just didn't read them enough. I just thought they were like good in Crusadia or something, but I did not expect like I don't think anyone expected like the Hot Red Dragon Archfiend and stuff like that, but just in general, like the Guard Dragons, I mean, they were all over. They were like in every single Thunder Dragon list, and that's like pretty crazy. I mean, they're called Thunder Dragons, but they're not like really dragons.
They're not actual dragons. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I think the Danger Thunder Dragon lists like Aaron Furman's is just like so wild. Like a lot of people like don't like Dangers, but it's like really crazy to like look at this list that takes advantage of Thunder Dragons and then the Danger monsters and then also like the mini Chaos Dragons and Phantom Sky Blaster to make use of like Skulldred in the extra deck and all the Guard Dragons. Like that's actually like crazy. That is a very innovative strategy that no one really thought of.
I will say too, and this is obviously coming from a little bit of bias from my own use of it, but I will say Trickstar Korribane actually rather overperformed. I did not expect the card to be that good, but basically turning Candina into a Link 2 without using Lilybell is very good, giving you the ability to hit over big monsters. Like the deck did not have a way to out Diabolos before Korribane existed.
Well, didn't have now you can just summon out to Cyber Dragon. Didn't have an
I know. Like you can just like you can do so many cool plays with that card, and even though it's just a one of because you want to search it, and it's kind of a brick. It does so many different things that the deck could not easily do before. And I was actually very impressed by the end of the 11 rounds that it like put in its worth.
Impressed enough to play more than one copy?
I would not play more than one copy. Absolutely not.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, that is going to wrap up our bubble discussion on YCS Chicago. Hopefully, at the next YCS, it will not be a bubble discussion. It'll be tales of the Yu-Gi tubers that topped the event. We'll have to see. Thank you so much for Cimoooooooo for coming on this video. I will put a link to his channel in the description. I'm sure many of you are already subscribed. Make sure to go check it out if you haven't already. And thanks so much to Cimoooooooo for coming on to today's video.
Thanks so much for having me.